Good morning, students. Let me start the class now. So, till the last class, we have been discussing one particular circuit called base bias, where we used to have one resistor at the base and one resistor at the collector. And I had told you the need for those two resistors. The resistor at the base is required because we cannot give the exact voltage VBE to the transistor. VBE varies from transistor to transistor. That is why RB is required. Similarly, resistor at the collector is required. Otherwise, when the transistor is switching on completely, power supply can be short circuited to ground, which is a dangerous condition. That is why two resistors are very much required for the transistor's switching action. And we need not have two power supplies as such, separated to the base and separated to the collector. The same power supply can be derived to the base also with the single connection. So that way we had seen the base bias circuit. But we had seen the limitation there in the base bias circuit is we will have to use beta for the purpose of finding out the quiescent point. And as I have been discussing earlier, even beta will not remain same for any two transistors, even though they are of the same type number. So now we have to find out some methods by means of which we can have a stable circuit which can work exactly at the middle of the active region. As you already know, for a transistor to work as an amplifier, we should switch it half on and half off, so that at the collector we have exactly half of the supply voltage. But for that to happen, when we have to calculate IB and IC, we are dependent on beta. We will today discuss one more circuit called emitter bias circuit, which will have less dependency on beta. How that works, I will tell you now. Now we are looking at the circuit. Here you can see one resistor at the emitter also. I am showing you the symbol of VBB, which means that there is a power supply to the base and there is a resistor to the base also. I am only showing you the shorter form of the base circuit. Otherwise, RB is definitely present here. Just for the sake of illustration, I am showing you two power supplies. Otherwise, it is a single power supply. Okay, and RB will be there. RB can be connected directly to VCC here. Right now you visualize only this particular circuit where we have a base supply and we have one resistance at the collector. In addition, we have one resistance at the emitter. Now let us see what happens just by adding one resistance at the emitter. In the earlier circuit, if at all the base current increases due to any reason, the transistor gradually will turn into saturation. For example, all the electronic devices are highly sensitive to temperature. Now we have two things to deal with. One thing is beta, one thing is temperature. If at all in the base bias circuit, if the temperature increases, then the electrons will more energy. When the electrons will have more energy, naturally the current flowing through the transistor will increase, driving the transistor into saturation. If it is working in the active region, if temperature increases, it can gradually turn into saturation just because of the increase in temperature. That we cannot solve in case of the earlier circuit called base bias circuit or fixed bias circuit. It has two names. Once it is called base bias, it is also called as fixed bias. Different textbooks use different names for the same circuit. Now this circuit you are seeing, which is called as emitter bias, this is also called as self bias. Here what happens is, due to any reason, if the base current increases, maybe due to increase in temperature, if the base current increases and that causes increase in collector current, what happens here is, here the emitter is not connected to ground. When the emitter is not connected to ground, we have connected one resistance at the emitter. So, due to any reason, if the current going through the transistor is increasing, that will induce a voltage drop across this RE. You can visualize that voltage across RE, let us say we call it as VE. VE is equal to IE into RE. IE is nothing but IB plus IC. Now, if IB increases, IC also increases because IC is nothing but beta into IB. Now, when IC increases, IE increases. When IE increases, there will be a voltage drop across this RE. Let me use annotation tool and let me simply write one value there simply. So, there will be this voltage drop across RE. This let me signify or indicate it as VE. Okay, let this be VE. So, this VE is nothing but IE into RE. IE into RE. Okay. So, IE is nothing but IC plus IB. So, if IE increases, VE, that is across this resistance, the voltage increases. Now, if the voltage is there across VE, what happens? Here we have VBE. Between base and emitter, we have VBE. Now, the base to emitter junction is forward biased because of the biasing supply. Okay, the base to emitter junction is forward biased because of the biasing supply. Now, if at all the voltage here it increases, this is now P, this is now N. Base is P and emitter is N. Now, at the N, instead of ground, we have connected RE. Across RE, there is now VE. Now, this VE will reverse bias the PN junction. When this VE reverse biases the PN junction, the transistor will gradually remain in active region itself. You just visualize a diode from base to emitter. You can visualize this diode from base to emitter, this manner. Okay. We have a diode from base to emitter. Now, here you visualize one VE, which is across RE. Now, when this VE is built up across this RE, this value of VE is going to be reverse biasing this PN junction or the diode which is between base and emitter. Now, this diode will not conduct completely. From the base to emitter, when the diode does not conduct completely, the transistor will not go into saturation at all. So, that way an inclusion of a single resistor at the emitter to ground is going to prevent the saturation of the transistor. That is how this circuit is more stable than the earlier circuit. Again, I will repeat this concept. In the base bias, emitter is directly connected to ground. So, there are chances that if temperature increases or if beta is more, then there are chances that transistor will go into deep saturation. We want it to be half on and half off. It may turn fully on because of this particular effect. Now, in case of this particular circuit called emitter bias, because we are connecting a resistor from emitter to base, there will be a drop across this RE and this drop will reverse bias the PN junction. And that is how this transistor will never go into saturation. It will remain in active region. That is the advantage of this particular circuit. Now, the disadvantage is addition of one more resistor, but it does not matter much for us because resistors are not really very expensive. If at all this circuit is integrated into a silicon chip, then we have to pay the price for the area of the resistor, which is slightly larger than the transistor. But as we are right now in the era of VLSI, we are in the era of very large scale integration. So, addition of a resistor inside a chip also is not going to cost us more. The advantage is the circuit is becoming more stable, and because of the stability, we can work comfortably with this circuit. Okay, that is the advantage of emitter bias. Let me go further. If at all you have any questions, you can always put it in the chat box. I will keep watching the chat box. Let me go further now. So for this circuit, we can apply KVL now. We can write the equation as I equals VBB minus VBE divided by RE. Now this IE, we have this VBB. If you apply KVL at the input side, we have the base bias voltage, and in the earlier circuit, we directly used to take VB itself because emitter was connected to ground. Now between emitter and ground there is RE, so there is a voltage across this resistor as well. So that is nothing but IERE. So we can find out IE equals the biasing voltage at the base minus VBE divided by RE, and we can always approximate IE to IC. The reason is IB will be always in microamperes, whereas IC and IE will be in milliamperes. So we can always approximate IE equals IC. If we apply KVL to the output loop now, VCE equals VCC minus ICRC minus IERE. If you apply KVL here now, total voltage applied to the output loop is VCC, and we have ICRC and we have IERE. In between we have VCE. If you remember our earlier discussion, the coordinates of the quiescent point are VCE and IC. Generally we call it as VCEQ and ICQ, indicating VCE quiescent and IC quiescent. Ideally, VCEQ must be equivalent to VCC by 2 and ICQ must be equivalent to IC sat by 2. This is what we had discussed when we discussed the load line analysis. Please remember all these things. Ideally, VCEQ must be equal to VCC by 2. That means the transistor is exactly half on. Similarly, ICQ equals IC sat by 2. Because IC sat is the maximum current which is flowing through the transistor during saturation. So ICQ must be maximum current divided by 2, which indicates that the transistor is half on. So here in this case, when we apply KVL at the output loop, VCE equals VCC minus ICRC minus IERE. If we approximate IC equals IE, then we have this particular expression VCE equals VCC minus IC into RC plus RE. This way, we can directly find out the value of VCE. Now, you may have a doubt that if at all we connect RE here, if the base to emitter junction is reverse biased, then will the transistor switch on or not? Transistor will switch on because we are applying base bias. We are applying the voltage at the base. So transistor will definitely switch on. Transistor will not be in the cutoff region because we are applying voltage at the base. It will not remain in cutoff region, but it will not go into saturation region. VBE may not be sufficient enough for the transistor to completely go into saturation. Otherwise, VBE is applied. So when we design the circuit, we should take care that RE should not be much larger. If RE is much larger, then there are chances that transistor will not turn on at all. Because if the voltage here is much larger than the forward bias of the base to emitter junction, then the base to emitter junction may not remain forward bias at all. It will completely go into reverse bias. But here the design criteria is what? RE will not be larger than RC. That is the design criteria. RE will be lesser. But we take care in such a way that across RE, some voltage which is induced will prevent the transistor to saturate. That is where we are applying the design criteria. So, whatever I explained till now, then the same thing is applied. In this circuit, the Q point was obtained without making use of beta. You can see here, we did not use beta anywhere. We approximated I equals IC and we found out VCE. We did not take care of the input side's base current at all, because we can always approximate IE with IC. In such a case, this circuit can work independent of beta as such. That is the advantage of this emitter bias. So in this circuit, the Q point was obtained without making use of beta. This is an important point. We are not going to make use of beta in future. As I told you earlier, different transistors will have different beta. Now we can use any transistor for that matter in this particular circuit. Yeah, there is a question that IB is approximated to 0 because the voltage drop across RE limits the base current to almost 0. Correct. We can always ignore IB because IB will be in microampere, IC will be in milliamperes. Almost 1000 times difference is there. So the effect of IB will not be really important in this circuit now. In the earlier circuit, we had to consider IB because we had to calculate IC by using IB. But in this particular circuit, we need not use IB at all. See, because we have IE. In the earlier circuit, we could not find out IE as such because there was no RE. Now here, when we know the biasing voltage at the base, we can easily find out the voltage across RE, approximating this VBE as 0.7 volts for a silicon transistor. That way, in this particular circuit and even in the future circuit, which we are going to discuss called voltage divider bias circuit, there also we can completely ignore IB. Only when we ignore IB, then only we can ignore beta also. That is how this circuit is more stable than the earlier circuit. So, the Q point was obtained without making use of beta. As beta is susceptible to changes, the emitter bias circuit overcomes this limitation wherein the Q point is independent of beta. Even when beta is considered, the difference is very small to be negligible. Hence, emitter bias is more stable than base bias. That is the conclusion. Now, I will give you an exercise. Quickly try to find out. Now, this is an exercise. Obtain the Q point for the circuit shown. Find the difference when beta is considered for the calculation. Already VBB is given. 5 volts is given. So, RE is given. You can apply a KVL here. 5 volts minus 0.7 is the voltage across this. So, VE is 5 volts minus 0.7 is 4.3 volts. So, IE is 4.3 volts divided by 2.2 kilo ohms. That you quickly find out. Then you approximate IE with IC. Then you apply KVL here. Tell me the value of VCE. In the next 2 minutes, quickly tell me the answer. The formula for VCE is total voltage is VCC, that is 15 volts. VCC minus IC into RC plus RE. When we approximate IC and IE together, the same current is flowing through this. So, you find out IE and then substitute 1 kilo ohms into IE plus 2.2 kilo ohms into IE, that will be the drop across these two resistors. 15 minus that value is going to give you VCE. Any answers? Okay, no one gave me the answers. Maybe students are waiting for me only to show the answers. It's a simple exercise. You will have to work out when you are listening to me. Only when you work out, only then you will understand. Anyway, today I will show you the answers. Answer is IE is 5 minus 0.7 divided by 2.2K. Base, at the base it is 5 volts, here it is 0.7. So, here please understand, even though the transistor is not into deep saturation, we generally assume always VBE equals 0.7. Even if it is in active region also, we generally take 0.7 for silicon transistor. So 5 minus 0.7 divided by 2.2K is 1.95 milliamperes is the emitter current. Now emitter current is same as the collector current. So VCE equals 15 minus 1.95 into 1 plus 2.2. That K I am not putting here and this milli I am not putting here because anyhow they are going to get cancelled. So 15 minus 1.95 into 1 plus 2.2, that is 8.76 volts. So this is the Q point, 8.76 volts and 1.95 milliampere. Ideally, if this is in the middle of the active region, then here we must have got 7.5 volts because VCC is 15 volts. We must have got 7.5 volts. But in this case, we are getting 8.76 volts, which is somewhat nearer. So we can safely say that this particular circuit is working in the middle of the load line. If beta is considered, let us say we consider beta equals 100, then what can be the difference happening? Let us see. Now when beta is considered, IC is alpha into IE, that you already know, and alpha is beta by 1 plus beta. This you already know. You already studied about these concepts in the first year in basic electronics. Please recall that alpha is beta by 1 plus beta and IC is alpha into IE. So we can calculate IC is 100 by 101, beta by 1 plus beta into 1.95 milliampere, that is IE. So we get a minor difference between IE and IC. You can see here, IE is 1.95 milliampere and IC is 1.93 milliampere. So there is a 0.02 milliampere difference. 0.02 milliampere is nothing but 20 microampere. So there is a 20 microampere difference if we consider beta. Now let us see, when we calculate this exactly, VCE equals 15 minus, let us choose only 1.93 here now. Instead of 1.95, 1.93 into 1 plus 2.2, we get around 8.82 volts. So the difference is the delta IC is 0.02 milliampere or 20 microampere and delta VCE is 0.06 volts. So even if beta is considered, the difference here is 20 microamperes and the difference here is around 60 millivolts. That 60 millivolts can be ignored and the 20 microampere difference also can be ignored. So we can safely say that the emitter bias circuit can work independent of beta. So the small difference can be ignored and hence even beta can be ignored. That is the conclusion. Now let me discuss the next circuit called as voltage divider bias. My dear students, in the next class, I am going to give you some exercises. Today I am going to only tell you the theoretical aspects of this. In the next class, I will give you some exercises on emitter bias as well. You will have to actually work out the load line and you have to tell me the answer. Otherwise, it becomes a one-sided teaching. So in the next class, I am going to use a different approach. So today I have discussed emitter bias. Let me go on to the voltage divider bias. This circuit is an improvement upon the emitter bias in which only one power supply is used for biasing the BJT. Actually, even in emitter bias, we can connect a single power supply itself. Here we can connect one RB and we can directly connect it to VCC. Naturally, we can apply KVL at the input side and we can obtain the value at base. So there are no two power supplies even in emitter bias. But in the voltage divider bias, this is an improvement upon the emitter bias in which only one power supply is used for biasing the BJT, where you can see there is one R1, there is one R2 and there is one RC, there is one RE. This is an improvement of emitter bias circuit. Please recall, why did we add this RE? So that the drop across RE will reverse bias this PN junction and it will prevent the transistor to completely get into saturation. Transistor will remain in active region. That was the advantage of RE. Now why are we including R2 now? We are including one more resistance from the base to ground, that is called R2. Why are we including? Let me explain. In the base bias circuit, IB we could not ignore. In the emitter bias circuit, IB we could ignore. For the given design, we could ignore. But that was dependent on that VBB and that was dependent on that value of RE as well. In the example which we worked out, the difference was minimal. That was because those resistor values were carefully chosen. Now, if the design is not actually proper, then there are chances that the stability of the circuit is going to be affected, which means in the load line, the transistor may not be exactly in the middle of the load line, but it may gradually drift towards saturation. It may not fully saturate, but it will gradually drift into saturation. Now, we don't know where all our amplifier circuits are going to be used in our real life applications. For example, let us say there is a circuitry in the satellite. Now the satellite is subjected to all types of drastic atmospheric conditions where we cannot guarantee that it is always working in 25 degrees centigrade. In general, we consider the temperature nominal as 25 degrees centigrade. But what about the satellite's functionality? In the satellite's functionality, it can be below 0 degree also. It can be above 100 degree also. In such case, temperature is drastically changing. When temperature is drastically changing, the base current also drastically changes. When the base current drastically changes, in the emitter bias, we may ignore base current. But collector current also drastically changes when temperature changes. Now, how to solve this issue? We want to have a circuit which is independent of beta also, which is independent of temperature also. That is this particular circuit called voltage divider bias. This is that circuit which is independent of beta and it is independent of temperature. Later on, we will have a stability analysis for this particular circuit. Now, you already know why we used RE. Now, let me tell you why we use R2. Let us design the circuit in such a way that current flowing through R1 and the current flowing through R2 approximately let them be same. Let us ignore IB completely. Let us choose this value of R1 and R2 in such a way that current flowing through R2 is not in microampere, it is in milliampere. If the current flowing through R2 is in milliampere, now we can in general say that IR1 equals IR2 plus IB. Let me use annotation. See, there is this current flowing through R1, that is IR1. From the supply voltage, current is coming down. You will have to always visualize a battery here. Across this, you always visualize a power supply battery which is connected to ground. Okay. Now, current is flowing from the power supply through R1 and we will have one IB here and we will have one IR2 here. What we can say by applying KVL here is IR1 is equal to IB plus IR2. Okay. Now, let us choose this value of R1 and R2 in such a way that this IR1 itself is in milliamperes. In the earlier case, it was in microamperes. Whether it is base bias or emitter bias, IB will always be in microamperes. But in this case, we are connecting one more resistor, due to which now IR1 itself is in milliampere. Now, if IR1 is in milliampere, IB is in microampere, we can completely ignore IB. When we completely ignore IB, we can safely say that the voltage across this base will remain constant. We can always say, if we ignore IB, in our earlier circuit, let me come back to that circuit. In our earlier circuit here, we cannot actually say that base voltage will remain fixed. This VBB will remain fixed, we cannot say. Why? Because it is still dependent on IB. And when IB changes, even this VBB slightly changes. When this VBB slightly changes, IE also changes. So, we can ignore beta in emitter bias circuit, but we cannot ignore the effect of IB as such when temperature changes. But in the voltage divider bias, you can see here, if we choose this value of R1 and R2 in such a way that current flowing through this input side is in milliampere, IB can be ignored. When IB can be ignored, we can say that voltage across R2 is constant. If voltage across R2 is constant, then VBB remains constant throughout irrespective of the temperature, because we are completely ignoring IB. If VBB remains constant, then if you apply KVL here, VBB minus VBE is nothing but VE. The voltage across RE is nothing but the voltage at the base minus the base to emitter junction potential. So that we can say that if VBB is constant, VE remains constant. If VE remains constant, IE remains constant. If IE remains constant, IC remains constant. That way, this particular circuit is independent of temperature also, independent of IB also, independent of beta also. So that way, this is the circuit which we are going to use everywhere now. The other two circuits we discussed only for you to understand this particular circuit. Actually, this particular circuit you already studied briefly in basic electronics. But here in the third semester, we started with the base bias first, then we came to emitter bias, then now we are coming to voltage divider bias. The reason is, if I directly start discussing this circuit, suddenly you may not be able to understand why exactly this R1 is there, R2 is there, RC is there, RE is there. So we started with only RB and RC, that was base bias. Then we came to RB, RC and RE, that is emitter bias. Now we are coming to R1, R2, RC and RE. There is nothing called RB now. There are two resistors at the base. They are connected in such a way that we have to ignore IB. Now, why this is called as voltage divider bias? Because at the base we are using a voltage divider network using R1 and R2. That is why this is called as voltage divider bias. Sometimes they call it as potential divider bias also. We simply use a short form called VDB. VDB means voltage divider bias. So remember these three things. Base bias is also called as fixed bias. Emitter bias is also called as self bias. Why emitter bias is called as self bias? Because the reverse biasing of the PN junction happens by the current itself. That way the circuit is self biased. Whereas in this case, voltage divider bias case, we are using a voltage divider network at the input side. So remember this thing, this is the most stable circuit out of all the three. Means out of base bias, emitter bias and this VDB, this is the most stable circuit. This circuit itself is going to be used in future for all amplifier designs and oscillator designs. When the offline classes start, you will start working in the lab. In the lab, you will be working with the voltage divider bias circuit itself directly, because this is the most stable circuit where Q point remains stable at the design value and beta we need not consider, temperature we need not consider. So let me explain further. Here R1 is used for obtaining the base current, R2 is used such that the effect of IB on Q point can be made negligible, as I was explaining till now. In other words, if R1 and R2 are chosen such that IR2 is greater than IB, see this is the main point. The main point is IR2 must be greater than IB. That is why I gave an example that the current in R1 and R2 must be in milliampere. Then if the base current is in microampere, it is almost 1000 times difference, so IB can be ignored. So IR2 must be greater than IB, then the base voltage VBB can be considered as constant, irrespective of the temperature, irrespective of the beta. VBB can be considered constant, hence IB can be completely ignored. That is the specialty of this circuit. Now, how would we do analysis here? From the circuit diagram, ignoring IB, we can simply write VBB equals R2 divided by R1 plus R2 into VCC. Because this is nothing but a voltage divider bias. The voltage drop across VR2 is IR2 is the current flowing. IR2 into R2 is the voltage across this R2. So the IR2, if you approximate to IR1, the total current is nothing but VCC divided by R1 plus R2. VCC divided by R1 plus R2 into R2 is the voltage drop across R2. That itself is VBB. VCC divided by R1 plus R2 is the current flowing into that particular resistance R2. So the base voltage is R2 divided by R1 plus R2 into VCC. Now when we know VBB, we can easily apply all other things. When we know VBB, here VE is VBB minus VBE. When we get VE, IE is VE by RE. When we approximate IE with IC, the total equation for the current here at the output side is VCC equals ICRC plus VCE plus IERE, or VCE equals VCC minus IC into RC plus RE. It is the same formula as we used in the earlier one, in the emitter bias only, because output circuit is same for both the biasing circuits. You can observe this. Output circuit is same both for emitter bias and VDB. Only the input circuit has changed. So the output equation for the emitter bias remains the same. So that way we can write IE equals VBB minus VBA divided by IRE, approximate equal to IC. So VC equals VCC minus IC into RC plus RE. Here also beta is not required for finding out Q or quiescent point. Now can you work out? I'll give you another 2 minutes time. Can you work out this exercise? If you say yes in the chat box, then I will wait. Sayan or Harshita or any other students who worked out the exercises last time, can you work out this exercise? I have given you the values now. RC is 3.3K, R is 1.2K, R1 is 10K, R2 is 2.2K, VCC is 10 volts. Okay, Sayan at least answered yes sir. Now try out. Find out the VBB now. VBB is R2 divided by R1 plus R2 into VCC. 10K plus 2.2K, 2.2K at the numerator into 10 volts divided by 10K plus 2.2K. You will get VBB, base voltage. Now using base voltage, find out VE. VE is VBB minus VBE. Now VE by RE is IE. Approximate IE with IC and apply the KVL as the earlier exercise. And quickly tell me the answer. The students who have joined newly, you will have to go through the video uploads which I have done in the YouTube channel. Go through the previous classes videos and follow the subject, otherwise it will be confusing for you. VBB is 1.803 volts. Yeah, you can see here VBB is around 1.8 volts. That is correct. Yes, correct Kamal. VBB is 1.8 volts. Now find out VE. 1.8 minus 0.7 is 1.1 volts. 1.1 volts is VE. 1.1 volts divided by 1.2K. That is going to be IE. So VE is 1.8 minus 0.7, 1.1. IE is 1.1 divided by 1.2K. That is 0.917 milliamperes. We can approximate IE with IC now. So apply the KVL to the output side. VCE equals 10 minus 0.917 into 3.3 plus 1.2. That milli I am not putting, kilo I am not putting because they get cancelled. So 3.3K at the resistor, collector resistor, 1.2K emitter resistor. I am adding them together. We get VCE equals 5.87 volts. Yeah. VC equals around 5.6. No, accurately it is 5.87 volts. Okay. So this is the answer. There is a small note I have put here. In the voltage divider bias, VC is 5.79. Maybe slightly calculator to calculator there will be slight differences there. According to my calculation, it is around 5.87 volts. Anyway, good that students are attempting the exercise. Let me tell the small note, and with this note, let me conclude today's class. In VDB, if IC increases due to any reason, then VE increases. Let us say due to temperature, if collector current increases, then the emitter voltage increases. But VBB is kept constant. Base voltage is kept constant. When the base voltage is kept constant, because of this R1 and R2, increase in VE will cause the reduction in VBE. See here, VBB is kept constant. Let us say due to temperature, if collector current increases, this VE increases. But here, as the base voltage is kept constant, now if this voltage increases, VBE has to reduce. Because the net voltage here is 1.8. Imagine here it is 1.8 and at the emitter it is 1.1. If at all due to any reason, if collector current increases due to increase in temperature, let us say this becomes 1.2. Then VBB is 1.8. So VBE has to now become 0.6. If VBE becomes 0.6, then it means that transistor will never go into saturation region. If transistor has to go into saturation region, across the PN junction, there must be a increase in voltage. But this prevents it. Because VBB is kept constant, this circuit prevents the increase in VBE itself, which was not there in our emitter bias also. In emitter bias, we did not take care of keeping this VBB constant. But here, because of this R2, VBB is kept constant, because of which will cause the BJT to move towards cutoff region. It will not go towards saturation. It will move towards cutoff, means it will remain inactive only. This in turn will reduce IC. If at all it goes towards cutoff region, then collector current gets reduced, making the BJT to come back to active region. Thus, VDB is the most stable biasing circuit. You please understand all these points. Why I told you this VDB is the most stable biasing circuit means we are keeping the base voltage always constant by choosing R2 in such a way that we can always ignore IB in any case. If we can ignore IB, we can ignore beta. Now we can ignore temperature also in this particular case, because if temperature increases, if IC increases, then it causes the reduction in VBE. That means the transistor will never drift from the Q point. That is why this is the circuit which we